Okay, so in this last section, I get a chance to talk about my world, which is the world of patient supportive funding. And this is where I work with clients to help them raise money in a way that is not venture capital, it's not going public, but it's getting funding from supportive investors who are patient and really value the mission of the company and value all stakeholders and not just want their returns to be maximized at all costs. So I'll just share a couple of examples of successful companies that have been my clients over the years that are using this model. And it's many companies do this. I mean, I have dozens and dozens and dozens of examples. So it's very doable. It's just simply not as well known an option, unfortunately, as these other ones are. So I'll start with Equal Exchange, which is a company in Massachusetts that sells coffee, chocolate, other fair trade commodities. You know, they package them up into various products. They are actually a worker co-op, so all the decisions made at the company are made by the workers and their elected board. And they only deal with co-ops in terms of their suppliers. So they give a lot of support to their suppliers. And they need to raise money on a regular basis because they want to pay up front. They want to pay their suppliers up front to be fair, but it takes a long time to turn that product into something they can sell. So they've raised about $20 million over the years, I believe. And the way they do it is they simply created a class of non-voting preferred stock, and that stock pays an annual 5% dividend. It is not a guaranteed dividend. It's simply a target dividend, but they've pretty much paid it every year or close to it. And so their investors get an annual 5% dividend. The investors don't participate in any decision making. They don't elect the board, but they do get to participate in cool activities like trips to visit the co-ops and things like that. And they've been incredibly successful, and it's really worked for them. And they've never had to worry about their investors pressuring them to do anything. In fact, one thing they did that is just completely revolutionary is they knew from the very beginning they would never want to sell their company to another company. Like if Procter & Gamble or Nestle came along and said, we want to buy you, they never want that to happen. They don't want there to be any temptation for that to happen. So they built into their charter that if the company were to ever be sold, any profits from the sale would have to be donated to a nonprofit. So I love that example. Barrett Kohler Publishers is another great example. They are in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. They actually published my book. They've published a lot of really amazing books over the years. And they did something kind of similar to Barrett Kohler. They've raised money from many different stakeholders. Their authors have invested. They've offered an investment opportunity to their customers. With Equal Exchange, you do have to make a minimum investment of $25,000, and so it's mostly wealthier investors. But with Barrett Kohler, there's been opportunities to invest for much smaller amounts. In fact, I'll give a little shout out. You can currently invest on the website crowdfundmainstreet.com in Barrett Kohler for a pretty small, very low amount, very low minimum. So they've always offered also non-voting preferred stock. In their case, they offer a cumulative dividend, which means that the investor is actually entitled to receive the dividend. It's not discretionary for the company. So you are entitled to receive your annual dividend. It might be paid in arrears, but you are entitled to it. And they're also doing really well. So those are just two of many examples. These are fairly large, successful companies. I can also give you lots of examples of smaller ones and bigger ones, but I just wanted you to be aware that that is possible. They are not beholden to their investors. Their investors understand that they serve multiple stakeholders. The investors have no power to force them or push them to do anything. And so life at a company like that is pretty great. So what if you want to raise money in the same way that these companies have with supportive investors? Where would you even start to make that happen? It's mostly a mindset shift because honestly, there's tons of money out there that is not part of the venture capital ecosystem or the, hedge fund or, all of that world. There's so many people out there that are looking to invest their money in ways that they feel good about. So it's a matter of kind of having a mindset shift about who is an investor and how you might find your investors. There's a whole other piece to it, which is the legal piece. Cannot, unfortunately, leave that out. When you're raising money for your business, you must comply with the state and federal securities laws. So what we do when we work with clients is we start off by creating a plan. And the plan involves, what is your compliance strategy? Because different compliance strategies allow you to reach different kinds of investors in different ways. Um, we talk about like, what is the investment that you're offering? Like the two examples I gave were non-voting preferred stock, but maybe you decide you want to offer some kind of revenue-based debt instrument. And what does that look like? And how does that work? So there's actually a 6-step planning process that is in my book, Raise Capital on Your Own Terms. So if you go through that 6-step planning process, you should have a pretty good plan that addresses all of those pieces that you need to be able to actually implement a fundraising strategy that allows you to reach out to these kinds of patient investors and do it on your own terms.